At this time, I'd like to call to order the 79th annual meeting of Wayne White County's Electric Cooperative. Registration was closed a few minutes ago, and we have registered 661. Thank you. We're very pleased to see all of you. Yes, thank you. I would like to introduce some guests. From our State Electric Association, the AIC, we have Dwayne Noman, the CEO. We have John Freitag. We have Mike Henry. We have Rick Polly and Chris Reynolds. Where you at, folks? From Hoosier Energy, we have Holly Yenzel, Randy Haymaker, and Renee Campbell. And then we have our regular member from Tri-County Electric, Marcia Scott. Finally, we want to recognize our most important guest, you, the member owners of Wayne White. This meeting couldn't be held and the cooperative wouldn't exist without your support. Thank you. Next, I want to thank the people that's helped put this on. First, all the employees of Wayne White. They've really stepped it up tonight to try to take care of this, and we pledge we will do a better job next year. We want to thank Jerry Parsons for the entertainment. Max Weaver and his crew for the cooking and catering the meal. The Edwards County High School with Superintendent David Calger, Principal Preston Nelson, and the maintenance and staff of Edwards County High School. We appreciate all the vendors that have come and set up for you all. Just like I'm going to acknowledge that quorum of 661. Lisa Vaughn, the office manager, has monitored this registration, and because we have 661, we can have this annual meeting because we are required to have 150. At this time, we'll turn it over to Jay Fight.
My purpose for arising today is to present the membership with proposed rules of the day to guide the membership consideration of motions, elections, and other matters that might come before this meeting. We'll use Robert's Rules of Order, newly revised 10th edition, to govern the conduct of the meeting. I'll serve as parliamentarian of the meeting tonight, except for those times when I'm holding the chair like now, in which case I would like to ask Darrell Dojan to act as parliamentarian. I'd like to ask unanimous consent to approve these rules of the day. There being no objections, the rules of the day as I have proposed are so ordered. Now I'd like to call on Andy Glover, our secretary, to present the official meeting notice and the proof of mailing.
I, Andy Glover, Secretary of Wayne White Electric Co-ops, cause the official meeting notice to be mailed out on February 29, 2016, to each member of the cooperative entitled to vote on that record date. That notice appears on page 1 of the 2016 annual meeting booklet for you to read. I ask unanimously consent that members waive the formal reading of the 2016 official meeting notice and proof of mailing. Without no objection, the formal reading of the 2016 official meeting notice and my proof of mailing was hereby waived. Thank you.
The minutes of the April 10, 2015 annual meeting can be found on pages 10 and 11 of this year's annual meeting booklet. Without objection, we will waive the reading of last year's minutes, and a motion would be in order to accept the minutes as published. Your name, sir, please. I have a motion on the table by me, Keith Wilson. Do I have a second? Dennis Wolf. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye, please. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. I want to begin my comments tonight with what I am categorizing as this year's change for Jerry. You might think that this is a little egotistical, that I might be talking about me, Jerry. However, if in the last few years, when you were attending annual meetings, and if the employees have been wearing name tags, you might have noticed that there are three others: Jerry Hauser, Jerry White, and Jerry Kinney. For all of us, since the annual meeting last year, there has been considerable change in our Wayne White County's electric cooperative lives. I will begin with Jerry Hauser. Having served in the military and then employed at Wayne White for 15 years, Jerry elected to retire, and as of January 15th of this year, is relaxing and enjoying the life of retirement. Next, I will discuss Jerry White. Jerry and I met 48 years ago as freshmen in high school on the hardwood floor and battled for 4 years of our high school career. From that time until I joined the board in 2005, I don't think our paths had crossed, but neither of us had forgotten those foxes versus bulldog encounters. On Friday, February 26th, a retirement party was held for Jerry, as after 27 years of service to the cooperative, he made the decision to retire. The following Monday, Jerry addressed the board thanking us for the employment that he so much cherished. He mentioned his first and last days of employment. But I think he also has another special first day to remember: Leap Day, February 29, 2016, his first day of retirement. I hope Jerry Hauser and Jerry White both enjoy retirement as much as I am. For myself, the first change actually came immediately after your annual meeting last year. As usual, following the Wayne White County's annual meeting, the Board of Directors convened for what is commonly called a reorganizational meeting. Every year at that meeting, officers of the board are elected, and I was privileged to be elected to serve as chairman of the Board of Directors. And for that privilege, I thank my fellow directors. It is truly an honor to be elected by you to serve on this board, and a privilege to be elected to serve as chairman. This annual meeting concludes my 11th year as I have served as director. I came on this board with my eyes wide open to learn and endeavor to make the right decision for this co-op. And to this day, I don't think I've had time to blink, as the learning curve does not seem to ever flatten out. The final Jerry, who could be described as the unique one of the four of us, is Jerry Kinney. Jerry is unique because, for some reason, his parents blessed him with a different spelling of his name. Jerry Hauser, Jerry White, and I all have our names spelled Jerry. Jerry Kinney's first name is spelled Gerry. Neither is right or wrong, but I believe one is more common. For Jerry Kinney, his change was and is the most significant, as on Thursday, July 16, 2015, he came in contact with a 7,200-volt energized line. An accident that statistically, in essence, would have ended the life of 19 of 20 people. By the grace of God, Jerry is one of 20 that lives to tell all about it. It was that accident and a series of events that I experienced after that that brought on another change for me. On Monday, July 20th, Darrell and I addressed the employees and board about the accident. To this day, I personally believe that there was not an employee in that room that would have been hurting any worse if it had actually been their own brother that had been involved in the accident. I think that if anyone in the room would have broken down, everyone would have. At that point, no one knew what the final outcome was to be. After the meeting that day, every day thereafter, your co-op employees, even though they were feeling the hurt, continue to perform and do everything that makes Wayne White Electric the asset it is to our community. A few weeks later, Noah and I visited Jerry at the hospital in St. Louis. I personally left there feeling better than I could have ever imagined. In a situation that could have been very unpleasant, Jerry and his family, through their comments and actions, actually lifted my spirits. The thing I vividly remember is Jerry making a statement, something to this effect: "I'm alive for a purpose. I'm going to find it." Jerry Kinney was and is still today a person that we all should endeavor to pattern ourselves after. Anyone who truly knows him is not surprised at what Jerry has accomplished since that day. His recovery has been far ahead of expectations. He is currently in the process of learning not to adapt to, but to use prosthetics, as the accident caused the loss of his hands. All we hear is that anyone that is working with Jerry cannot believe how fast he is progressing. Those people that have been working with him during his recovery have not had the privilege to experience the co-op family and the attitudes and work ethics that are the core of this organization, of which Jerry is certainly a model. There is no doubt Jerry will not fail in his effort to overcome this setback and find that purpose he spoke of that day in the hospital. Personally experiencing how Jerry and his family dealt with this accident and how the rest of the employees came together in support of Jerry and his family created the second change for me. This all convinced me that this organization is as close to a family as any organization can be. Ladies and gentlemen, the comments of co-op family that you commonly hear are real at Wayne White. I see that Jerry is here tonight. We're happy to see you with us. Where you at, Jerry? My final thought is related to the change in debt position of the cooperative that has been accomplished since 2005 when many of us joined this board. I mentioned earlier that I came onto this board with my eyes wide open. One of my first observations was that when you looked at the gross revenue of the co-op, it originally took 16% of that revenue to make the debt service requirements of our lenders. Last year, not only was our debt service obligation met, but near $1,641,000 in capital credits were retired, and it was accomplished with only 10% of the cooperative's revenue. I know this board is, and I hope that you all are proud of the financial strength of this cooperative. Thank you. I now call on Board Treasurer Rick Rubenover, who will give the financial report.
Thank you, Jerry. You can find the unaudited statement of operations for Wayne White Electric Cooperative on page 3 of your annual meeting booklet. In 2015, Wayne White showed total receipts of $46.8 million while generating $5.1 million in margin. Membership equity increased to 70%. No new debt was added to the cooperative, and long-term debt was decreased by $2.7 million while also retiring capital credits. Overall, I would advise the membership that our cooperative is very healthy financially and is well positioned for the future. For the year of 2016, we will have no general rate increase, and we have budgeted to retire nearly $1.5 million in patronage capital for the years of 1979 through 1981. I will now call on President CEO Daryl Dojan for recognition of employees' years of service and retirees.
I'd like to recognize the following employees for years of service in increments of years. And if they're here, I would ask them to please stand up, and if you would hold.
First off, we got to recognize this guy. He's been here 10 years.
Thank you. It's hard to believe. but it's true, so. Okay, if the employee is here, would they please stand up, and I'll kind of point them out to you. And like I said, if you would just wait till we're done and give everybody applause, that would probably go a little better. 10 years of service, we have Randall Douglas. Randall's cleaning up. He's here. He's probably cleaning up in the kitchen. Randy Olson has 10 years right up here. Shane Strickland. Shane's, I think, also cleaning up. I guess we didn't get word. I wanted them to be out here, but I'm sure they're cleaning up after all the people we fed tonight. So, Zach Costin, and I don't think Zach is here, but he also had 10 years. 15 years of service is Dennis Estes, and Dennis is back there by the doors back there. Lindy Simpson. Lindy also is in the kitchen, I'm sure. 20 years of service was the guy who was in charge of the kitchen and the meal tonight, and that's Jeff Cerlini. 20 years of service, and he had a heck of a job tonight and did a heck of a job. 25 years of service is Jim Gifford, and Jim is back there where you got your light bulbs if we didn't run out. So that's the employees in increments of years. If you would give them all a round of applause, we'd appreciate it. Then there's two other people I'd like to recognize, and they were spoken about earlier. But the first one is Jerry Hauser. And Jerry, are you in here yet?
Jerry's up there.
Okay, up there. You know, Jerry, I've been lucky to be in this business a long time, and I will tell you that I have never seen anybody any better at talking to members and dealing with members. And any of you who have had that association recognize that. He has a knack, and it's very unique. I don't think I've ever seen a situation like we've seen in the past with Jerry when we've had many times when people have a high bill complaint, you know, and they come and talk to Jerry, and when they're done, they're apologizing to Jerry. You know, but that's what kind of person Jerry is. He was that good, and we will really, really miss him. But as always, we will move on, and we have Josh Scott actually is taking his place. And if we really want to know who's responsible for tonight, it's Josh, you know. So however you want to take that. So, but he's young. Got broad shoulders, so he can take it. Right, Josh? Right? Okay. The second person I want to recognize is Jerry White, and Jerry's over here in the corner. Jerry had 27 years with the co-op. And what I want to say about Jerry sincerely is that I don't think I've ever seen a more dedicated and loyal employee at the co-op and where I've been. So Jerry really needs to be recognized for that too. Just a tremendously loyal and employee. So if everybody would give Jerry a hand, we'd appreciate it.
Our next order of business is to elect 3 new directors or re-elect directors to the cooperative. To stand for election as a candidate for a director, the bylaws provide that each member wishing to be a director may be nominated by petition signed by at least 25 other members. The bylaws also require the establishment of an elections and credentials committee to certify petitioning candidates for the director positions to you, the membership. On page 5 of your annual meeting booklet, there is a report of the Elections and Credentials Committee certifying the following director nominees for their respective districts. From District 4, there's Ken Lamont. From District 8, Steve Becker. From District 9, there's Noel Edmondson. So these gentlemen are already directors, and they are standing for re-election. The Election Credentials Committee has approved them, and that has been published in your annual meeting booklet. Since there's no other way or method for nominees to contest to be elected as director of the cooperative, and since you must file a petition ahead of time and be approved by Election Credentials Committee, there's no longer any nominations from the floor. Under Robert's Rules of Order, it's my determination that these three gentlemen from District 4, Ken Lamont, District 8, Steve Becker, District 9, Noel Edmondson, under Robert's Rules of Order are elected by acclamation from you, the members. They will serve 3-year terms and beginning this evening. So thank you very much. I'll now call on Darrell Dojon to give his CEO report.
Good evening, everyone. What a crowd. Unbelievable. We had hoped that having a $25 bill credit would increase attendance. Boy, it did. But it's great because that's what we wanted to do. And we appreciate you coming out, and it means a lot. And we accomplished our goal. And it's because you were willing to make the trip here to do that. On May 15th of this year, I will have achieved 39 years of employment in the electric cooperative program, the last 20 as general manager CEO, and it is hard to believe that I have been at Wayne White for 10 years. With this employment history also comes age, and although I would like to say I started when I was 12, my hair color begs to differ. With age also comes memories and nostalgia. How many people in the audience remember actor Walter Brennan? Everybody, pretty much, right? Especially with the average age of the crowd. His biggest claim to fame was probably a TV show called The Real McCoys. You remember that? He also had another show that was called The Guns of Will Sonnet. Remember that one? It was only about 3 or 4 years, but it was on. Does anybody remember the famous 4 words that he became synonymous for that came out of that show? No brag, just fact. You're right. Absolutely. As you can see by Jerry's and Rick's remarks and reports, the cooperative is in a very strong financial position. For the 3rd straight year, we will not be having a general rate increase, and we will continue to pay capital credits, as Rick said, this year for the years 79 through 81. That fact, along with the quality of our employees and technology enhancements, has put your cooperative in a very strong position to deal with the coming years. No brag, just fact. Another saying that was etched in my memory as a kid came from a radio commercial I heard on KMOX radio in St. Louis. A guy by the name of Friendly Bob Adams stated, "There's good and bad in everything, I guess." I don't know if everybody ever heard that, but that was on a lot at that time. The kind of interesting story behind that is my mother, bless her heart, was I was one of 7 kids, and she stayed at home most of the time, but she did work at some time, and she had a job in St. Louis at a savings and loan, and she didn't have a driver's license, you know, so she rode or so forth. But I remember a lot of Friday nights, we would pick her up from work and go to my aunt and uncle's house for the evening in St. Louis. And it seems like over and over and over, I heard that commercial. So it just etched in my head. There's good and bad in everything, I guess. As good a position that our cooperative is in today, there are always challenges in the future. The bad is the new EPA emissions rule called the Clean Power Plan. If implemented, it has the potential to significantly raise power costs with very little environmental impact. For the sake of argument, even if everyone accepts the premise of global warming or climate change, there is a responsibility to deal with it in an economically viable manner. The proposed rule would require premature closure of many coal-fired power plants that have existing debt. And that debt, a lot of that debt was created by environmental upgrades that had to be done in the past several years related to mercury and other things. So it's added debt to all those power plants, and the fact is that if they have to prematurely close, that debt will still be there. If they close prematurely, not only will ratepayers pay to build new generation, but will also be required to pay off the existing debt. I contend that even if you accept the premise of global warming and climate change, and I'm not a scientist, so I don't know, it didn't happen overnight. And we should allow coal plants to operate for the remaining useful economic life, or until a cost-effective, clean coal technology is developed and proven. Although, to the surprise of many, the U.S. Supreme Court recently put a stay on the Clean Power Plan, however, it will not go away. And this whole issue should be dealt with through responsible legislation, responsible and reasonable legislation. In my lifetime, I have not seen a time when the next election is so critical. The results will effectively establish a Supreme Court bias for many years to come and determine whether there will be any hope of reasonable legislation. Regardless of your political persuasion, I hope all of you will spend the time to educate yourself on the issues and how you will be impacted and fulfill your constitutional right to vote. Thank you very much.
At this time on the agenda is old business, and since how nothing was brought up last year, there is none. Is there any new business that anyone would like to bring up or address at this time? Hearing none, I will ask if there's any questions from the membership. We've allotted a significant amount of time. It's your meeting. We'll do whatever it takes. We've got microphones if you have any questions. Yes. Please announce who you are.
My name's Steve Lowry. I'm a good standing customer of the co-op, and I was wondering when you was going to do something about the state not paying their share, or have they paid up all the way?
That's a very good question. We have not been. You want to address it?
Yeah. The state is behind. We have not, at this point threatened to disconnect, and I'll explain what our position is on it. Number one, we fundamentally believe that we will eventually be paid, okay? Second of all, we also believe, and historically, we expect that we very probably will be paid interest on that. If you disconnect them, what in fact we're really doing is just giving up revenue, that we would otherwise be getting when we believe we're going to be paid for it anyway. But there's also another real important point, and that is that the state of Illinois has to come up in response to the Clean Power Plan about a state implementation plan. And the co-ops as a group do not want to be at odds, with the potential of how that plan could be written, by being the first ones to disconnect power to the state facilities. So that's really where we're at, and we understand the issue of people saying that, well, I would be disconnected, and we understand that position, but we also truly believe, and there's no reason to believe, because the state of Illinois, contrary to what people may think, cannot technically go bankrupt. They have to pay their bills. Now, we obviously know where they're going to get the money, and that's from us, the taxpayers. But to this point, that's the position we've taken, and where we're at. And they're behind several months. And to be honest with you, I don't know what's going to happen to this, because there is more and more pressure being put on by utilities in general throughout the state, about this. I think the city of Springfield is owed $8 to $10 million right now or something like that on utilities and so forth from the state. These numbers are staggering, and I'm not honestly very optimistic that it's going to be resolved pretty soon and what will happen. But right now, we just do not believe the co-ops in Illinois as a group, it's in our interest at this time, to start disconnecting those accounts. And that's the answer to the question.
Well, they're 10 months behind, I believe, ain't they? And in a letter that you wrote to me, you stated that you'd give me a month to pay my bill. Well, I have the money to pay my bills. So you're going to get your money. If the state don't have the payment, it's time to do something. Thank you.
Appreciate your comment. Yeah.
I've got just a little bit a different take. I don't disagree with Darrell at all. But one thing is, if we shut the state off, it could hurt you as a member. One, the state parks would be shut down. Some of you all go camping. Your state license bureaus will shut down, so you'll have to drive to Springfield or go to another county other than us. So it's going to hurt you, the members, if we do that. Also, there's a liability that we could run into, because all the lights would be shut off at all the exits on 64. If there was a wreck, who are they going to come after? Possibly who shut the lights off. So there's more concern than have we got paid yet. We also look at that as we're helping you, we're keeping you members of having the license bureau and some of the state buildings that you use every day to get your license, to renew your license and different things. So there's more too than just them not paying us. So we're trying to protect you members too, so you don't have to go that much farther. Because if we shut ours, there's three state license bureaus in our district. So those people in White County, Hamilton County, Wayne County, Edwards County would have to drive to another one to go there. So that's my take on it, that there's a liability for us to help you as the members also, and a liability at the interstates. Thank you.
I want to thank you for your question. Was that explain what you want? Thank you. Any other questions? If there's no other questions, one other thing I would like to address is not on the agenda, and that was the crowd. I know there were several of you that were not fed as we desired. Thanks to technology, when you registered, there was a timestamp. We were watching very closely. The people that registered that we don't feel were fed correctly will be compensated. Watch for your bill credits. If there's nothing further, I look for a motion to adjourn. Vernon Gwaltney, second. Brandon Barbary. All those in favor? Opposed? I will ask Randy Olson and Josh Scott to come up for the drawing.